Once again, welcome to the World Social Entrepreneurship Summit 2018, organized by Social Enterprise Research Academy. My name is Rizwan, and I'll be your host for the summit tonight. So, we are pleased and honored to have renowned speakers from different parts of the world tonight, such as Mexico, UK, Malaysia, and Indonesia, to share with us their insight on social enterprises and entrepreneurship experiences. Now, before we begin, please be reminded to turn your mobile phone to silent mode during the summit. Now, to kick off today's event, we would like to invite Ms. Bonnie Liao, Executive Director of Social Enterprise Research Academy, to give us the opening speech. Ms. Liao, you have our attention.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. Thank you all for coming today. Dr. Lam Ching Choi, Mr. Gustavo Berlanga, committee members, ladies and gentlemen. Today we are very honored to have your presence in the World Social Entrepreneurship Summit held by Social Enterprise Research Academy. We are entering the next economic era with the reordering of human relationships, if you know, as we are facing the prospect of a collapse of global economy, such as the climbing price of food, degrading environment, high unemployment rate, and the soaring consumer government debt. Have you ever thought of what we can do for the society? Some entrepreneurs are thinking about the same question. They are emerging with self-sustaining business to address social and environmental challenges in their communities. They are the social entrepreneurs. In Hong Kong, we have so many successful entrepreneurs with philanthropic mindset and a good heart to enhance their respective industry practices in CSR aspect. But we are lacking of social entrepreneurs who are seasoned with a spirit of social innovation and business experiences. Through Social Enterprise Research Academy Fellowship Program, we consolidate a platform of business leaders that have social mindset and business experience. We aim to invite policymakers like you and academians like you, as well as social entrepreneurs and NGOs like you in the market to share and to conduct the conversations with our fellows from different industries and to aspire social entrepreneurship quality among us. Hopefully, more corporate social partnerships will be formed. In this World Social Entrepreneurship Summit, we're very pleased to bring together global experts from the UK, Mexico, Malaysia, and Indonesia to share their insights of the developed and developing markets and experience in tackling bottlenecks and making breakthroughs in social entrepreneurship development and impact investment. Through this event, we hope to provide a comparative and comprehensive view to empower everyone to create a better Asia. Let's work together for a better future of social entrepreneurship, and let's work together for a more prosperous and equal society. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Liao. Now next, we would like to invite our honorable guest, Dr. Lam Ching Choi, BBS JP, Chairman of the Community Investment and Inclusion Fund Committee, to deliver a speech. Dr. Lam, please.
Bonnie, Mr. Berlanga, distinguished speakers, guests, ladies and gentlemen. For those friends who are following my Facebook will know that this is my 4th event today. And I just went to a dementia-friendly community building launching ceremony, which is really great. But I'm still full of energy because seeing you, and it gives me great pleasure to join you all at the meaningful social caring pledge scheme ceremony and the World Social Entrepreneurship Summit in my capacity as the chairman of Community Investment and Inclusion Fund, in short, CIIF. Sorry about that, it's a long name. And let me first extend a very warm welcome to all distinguished speakers and guests coming from different parts of the world who share a passion of making a better and a more sustainable community. Today's event is an excellent opportunity for like-minded social entrepreneurs, corporates, and individuals to come together for social good. The Social Caring Pledge Scheme aims to amplify the impact brought by social innovation, promote social awareness among corporates and individuals, and sustain confidence in social enterprises. It is a scheme open for entrepreneurs, companies, and organizations committed to be responsible citizens. Yeah, it's very excited about that. And the World Social Entrepreneurship Summit offers a platform for international social entrepreneurs to share their insights on values of social impact investment and exchange experience with a view to generate ideas for social innovation and advancement that help to address the metropolitan social issues brought by the changing socio-economic landscape. This summit, indeed, is a congregation of great minds like you from different places and backgrounds, celebrating a common pursuit of social good. Hong Kong is a small, but yet still very fascinating international city. While most renowned for its economic and business success, like many other cities in the world, Hong Kong also has our own unmet social needs. To tackle the challenges, our government strives to collaborate with different sectors on all fronts at all levels to foster links and build social capital for a more caring community. The CIIF is one of the means to build social capital. Being the chairman of CIIF, I would like to share with you a bit more on its contributions and impact so far. In 2002, the government established the CIIF with a US $38 million allocation. A year later, in 2003, for those who still remember, when Hong Kong was hard hit by SARS outbreak and the social cohesiveness became weak, our fund funded his first batch of projects to promote community participation, injecting the much needed positive energy into Hong Kong through social capital to promote mutual help and to build a social cohesion. In 2008, in response to a series of family tragedies in Tin Shui Wai, which is a district in the northern part of Hong Kong, our fund approved the funding in one single batch to support 13 social capital development projects in the area, so as to strengthen its neighborhood support networks. All these efforts require innovative mindset to address the current social issues, while at the same time build social capital for a more resilient community. Thanks to the cross-sectorial support over the years, the fund has worked out several solutions with remarkable achievement. Among them are, for example, the community welfare housing collaboration by training residents in housing estates to become house captain and build a safe and friendly community. The community social family partnership by opening school campuses and strengthening the community function of supporting families. And also the community welfare medical participation by consolidating healthcare networks which contributes to mutual help and support for the wellness of residents in respect of their physical, mental, and spiritual well-being. Some of these solutions can build up strengths from within, while others can serve curative purposes to provide remedies to the community. Many initiatives of the CIIF involve not only timely and immediate monitoring contributions and support to relieve social problems, but also social capital as the solutions to address these problems. At a time with rapid population aging and the disparity of wealth and opportunities deepens gradually, social capital could, in my view, bring about social inclusion and solidarity, while social entrepreneurs' innovative business models leads to opportunities for making a better community. As we all know, globalization has caused many social challenges and issues. The productivity and healthcare challenges brought by population aging, the job market challenge brought by technological advancements, the environmental challenge brought by urbanization, the housing challenges brought by the lack of land supply. Such challenges also imply new business opportunities. While giving assistance and support to those in need, we want to create social capital to address social issues and challenges. We also want to transform social challenges into opportunities, into new business, into new development. We do not just look for solutions, but also strategies for social advancement. Aside from stepping up efforts for social good, social entrepreneurs like you all are increasingly keen to identify ways to address the outcomes of their inputs and to see how such outcomes are translated into social values and impacts. The challenges are enormous, but so are the opportunities. What we need is to open our minds, disrupt and create innovative business models, and maintain good practices. To do so, we have to learn more and look beyond borders and across different sectors. And the World Social Entrepreneurship Summit is an excellent opportunity, offering a great platform for us to exchange ideas, share experience, and explore together possible strategies and solutions in response to the global social challenges. In recent years, following the increasing number of non-government and charitable organizations, the evolvement of new forms of giving and assistance, and the promotion of corporate social responsibility, we are seeing the emergence of social enterprises as a new sector which aspires to achieve social objectives through private business. The rapid rise in the number of social enterprises worldwide, including Hong Kong, has led to a new business sector, which increasingly makes an impact on its pursuit of social objectives. We have a lot to learn and share with each other. I look forward to continuing the dialogues with you in the coming future. May I take this opportunity to thank the Social Enterprise Research Academy for organizing this event and wish the Social Caring Pledge Scheme and the summit every success, and all the participants a very rewarding day, and guests from overseas also a very enjoyable stay in Hong Kong. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Lam. In our daily life, we have promises to make and keep. In the corporate world, we are also committed to be socially responsible by putting values into practice. These values include promoting environmental community protection, human rights promotion, maintaining labor standards, work against corruption, and providing quality products and services to customers. We are happy to have business leaders in the house tonight to show their support and continuous dedication in sharing the same values for sustainability of long-term growth to our society. So for that, We would now like to invite them on the stage. So, can we have Professor LongRoll-会Kit, Vice Chancellor of Social Enterprise Research Academy, Dr. Mona Chow, Chairman the Hong Kong Chinese Women's Club, and then we have Madam Ann Pauline, BBS JP Vice President and Managing Director of Mainland Headwear Holdings Limited. Then we have Dr. Winkle Low, JP Honorary President, the Y Elites Association. Then we have Dr. Lam Ching Choi, BBS JP Chairman of the Community Investment and Inclusion Fund Committee. Then we have Mr. Gustavo Perez Berlanga, the former New York member of UN Global Compact Board. Then we have Mr. Eddie Wong, MH, Chairman of the Centerline Charity Fund Limited. Ms. Bonnie Lau, Executive Director, Social Enterprise Research Academy. And then we have Dr. Chow Pak Chin, BBS JP, Founding Chairman, the HKMA Charitable Foundation. We'll continue. There's a lot of people doing a good job, so let's continue. Mr. Ng Kam Chung, Director of Tai Yau Property Agency. Mr. Wayne Chen, Director of Saville's Project Consultancy Limited. And then we have Mr. Codman Tai, Director of Siwo Chan Gas Company Limited. Then we have Ms. Ming Lee, Barrister at Law of Queensway Chambers. And then we have Ms. Chow Chin Yu Angela, Founder and CEO of Catch It Group. Ms. Kwok Sab Yut, Managing Director of Hot Star Restaurant Company Limited. Dr. William Ng, Principal of Hong Kong Communication Arts Center. Ms. Grace Kwok, Executive Director of Allied Environmental Consultants Limited. Mr. Hoi Wai Keen, Founder of Yip Hing Meat Company. Mr. Tong Hoi Sang Alfred, CEO of Grand Universal Trading Company Limited. And finally, Mr. Ma Fung On, Executive Director and Vice Chairman of Suga International Holding Limited. So, on the count of three, the guests will later on the stage will pull down the bar. But for our guests, you too can also show your support by simply scanning the QR code found on your page 16 of your booklet. Can you flip to page 16? Yeah, or on the screen. So you can scan it, and on the count of three, you can also raise your phone to show the pledge logo. So is everyone ready? So 1, I still see some, okay, 1, 2, 3. Now, congratulations to everyone. And thank you for all your support. Now, could we all please be seated, and we will take a group photos together with the audience. For a group photo with the audience together. Yeah, so the photographer will take a photo from the stage. Yep. So there's a banner, and everyone can look at the photographer on the stage. So we won't miss anyone in the photo. And sorry, for those of you who are not holding the banner, you can hold the program booklet or the photo. I mean, the QR code that you have scanned. So keep everyone engaging. Yes. And we are also distributing some props. In case you'd like something fancy, we have some foam boards, small ones. Almost, yeah. A couple. Yeah.
A few left. And the one who's already scanned the QR code, please support us. Get the phone out and yeah, let me see some light. See some light of the phone logo. Okay, we're now ready. Okay, yeah, you guys see me, right? I'm here. All right, in 3, 2, 1. One more, in 3, 2, 1. Okay, I want your hands out, a thumbs up, and be energetic. All right, in 3, 2, 1. One more. Okay, thank you guys. Thank you all.
Thank you very much. Now, every event's success does not only rely on one party alone. In view of that, we would like to express our appreciation to our sponsors and supporting organizations. So you may leave your phone board, we will take care of it later, don't worry. Now, to present our appreciation certificate to our sponsor, so I'd like to invite, again, Mr. Gustavo Berlanga, our Honorary Chairman of Social Enterprise Research Academy, on stage. Mr. Berlanga, please. So may I now invite our sponsor, Mr. Anson Law, Director of EC Infotech Limited. Mr. Law, please. Thank you, Mr. Law and Mr. Belanga. Thank you. To present our appreciation certificate to other supporting organizations, I'd like to invite Madam Ngan Pauline BBS JP, Vice President and Managing Director of Mainland Hardware Holdings Limited. Joining her is Professor Yeung Hoi Kit, Vice Chancellor of Social Enterprise Research Academy. Both of you, please come to the stage. So may I now invite our supporting organization. So the first one is Mr. Ao Young Hong Mun, Vice President of the Hong Kong Chinese Importers and Exporters Association. Mr. Ao, please. Thank you, Mr. Ao. We can look at the center yet. Okay, moving on, we'd like to invite Mr. Stanley Choi, Chairman of the Hong Kong United Youth Association. Thank you, Mr. Choi. Mr. Andrew Chan, Vice President of Hong Kong General Building Contractors Association. Mr. Chan. Thank you, Mr. Chan, and thank you, Ms. Ngan. Thank you, Ms. Ngan. Professor Yeung, please remain on stage. So, our next presenter will be Dr. Mona Chow, Chairman of the Hong Kong Chinese Women's Club. Dr. Chow, please come to the stage. So, we will have Mr. Rex Lai, President of Dragon Nation, to receive the award from both of the guests. Sorry, switch Nikon. Thank you, Mr. Lai. And can we invite Mr. Peter Morgan, Vice President of Climate Shield Group? Thank you, Mr. Morgan. And can we invite Mr. Philip Choi, Founding Director of Shining Partners? Mr. Choi, please. Thank you, Mr. Choi. And finally, Ms. Sophie Sun, Executive Director of Hong Kong U Charm International Education Consulting Limited. Ms. Sun, please. Thank you, Ms. Sun. And thank you, Dr. Chow. Professor Young will continue. Our next presenter is Dr. Wing-Ko Lo, JP Honorary President of the Y Elites Association. Dr. Lo, please come to the stage and present some certificates. So, can we have Ms. Joanna Yu, President of CUHK CSR Committee, to come up to the stage? Thank you, Ms. Yu. And now can we have Ms. Dorothy Wong, representative of Hong Kong New Emerging Technology Education Association. Thank you, Ms. Wong. And can we have Ms. Karen Choi, the Vice Chairperson of Ms. Entrepreneurs Club Limited. Ms. Choi, please. Thank you, Ms. Choi, and thank you, Dr. Lo. And our next presenter is Chairman of Centerline Charity Fund Limited, Mr. Eddie Wong, MH. So, Mr. Wong, please come to the stage. So, can we have Dr. Shirley Yeung, Head of School of Business of Gracia Christian College? Thank you, Dr. Yeung. Can we now have Mr. Sunny Chan, Vice President of Program Coordination, Association of Founders, please. Mr. Sunny Chan. Thank you, Mr. Chan. And finally, can we have Dr. William Yip, Vice Chairman of Hong Kong Institute of Marketing. So thank you, Dr. Yip. Thank you, Mr. Wong, and thank you, Professor Yeung, and our sponsors and all the supporters. Once again, please give them a big round of applause. Now, during the course of the summit, we welcome any questions that you may have. Now, you can simply scan the QR code you see here on the screen, or you can go to the website www.sli.do and input our event code 1215 SERA, today's date and Sarah, okay, inside. And then you can type in your questions. Our experts will address to them during the panel discussion shortly later. So we are excited for the upcoming sessions from our experts to start off. So to begin with, I'd like to invite Mr. Gustavo Berlanga, the former member of the Global Compact Board in New York, to share with us his topic on sustainable supply chain and social enterprises. Mr. Berlanga, we have your attention. So please give him a big round of applause, ladies and gentlemen.
Okay. Okay, good afternoon, and let's begin. I am going to talk about supply chain and social enterprises, but before I started that, I want to share you some ideas about philanthropy, social responsibility, and sustainability. This is the presentation, and I will start with some ideas. Social responsibility. What does it mean? It means donations. Donations of money, donations of time, and in many ways, the donation is short-term results that are not related to the business. I am going to put you a 22-second video.
Penny Lane, there was a barber showing.
Thank you. Yeah, it's about the Penny Lane song. You remember that?
Penny Lane, there was
Okay,
a barber
let's go.
showing photographs of every head he's had the pleasure to know, and all the people that come and go stop and say hello. On the corner is a banker with a motor car, the little children laughing him behind his back.
You remember the song, right? John, do you remember? Okay. The issue of this song is because the name of the streets is to honor a businessman that was called James Penny. He died at the end of 18th century, and he was one of the most respected businessmen in Liverpool on that time. He made a lot of donations for charities, for hungry people, for elderly people, for homeless people. And also, Mr. James Penny was a slave trader. If you want to see his story, you just can Google it. It's fascinating. What I want to tell you with this video and this example is that the business is on one side and the philanthropy is another side, and they don't match together. That's the first idea. The second one is about social responsibility. And this is how do you respond for all your economic, social, and environmental impacts. Because we are impacting the planet and the people and the economic all the time. And I want to give you some examples. Please raise the hand, you guys that used to drink coffee. Black coffee? Decaf? Cappuccino? With a shot of caramel or syrup? With a donut? Where did you get coffee? Restaurants, hotels, here, at home, everywhere. Please raise a hand. When was the last time that you went to get a coffee and you ask the people who attend you, please give me a coffee without child labor? Please give me a coffee that respects human rights. Please give me a coffee that helps to empower poor women in Vietnam. And let me tell you that the decision of the brand A of brand B make a difference in all the supply chain. Another example. This is printed in paper. Does this come from a sustainable forest or not? In some countries in Latin America, 70% of all the paper comes from illegal forest. 70%. Do we care? Do we go to Office Depot or a supermarket and we look what's going on in the supply chain or not? Two more examples and I will continue. Who has a smartphone? We all have smartphones. Inside this device, there is a mineral that is called coltan. And coltan is mainly extracted in the Congo country. And 90% of the mines in Congo are illegal. How many slavery is in the value chain so we can get the latest smartphone? Do you look at the brand that you use for smartphones for looking on the sustainability issue and human rights respected? The last one, the clothes that we are wearing. You know, for having this, on the ink is a very aggressive process. Who got blind because of this? In Bangladesh or in Bolivia or in Central Mexico? Do you choose the brand because of the sustainability efforts of the company that produced it? Or you just don't care and you just buy it? That is what social responsibility is about. The money is important, but the people is important and the environment is important. And this, at the end, is reactive or active because it's in the past. How do you respond? And the last idea that I want to share is about sustainability, that is a proactive thing. And the most recognized definition of sustainability is to meet the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. And this is about the money, the people, and the planet. Business people is just focused here. Social activist is just focused here. Environmental activist is focused here. It does not work if you don't take in consideration the three. You have to take care of this and this and this. Even if you are here or here or here, it doesn't work at the end of the day. And because of the short period of time for this presentation, I am not going to give you more examples. And that's what sustainability is about. Money, people, planet. In many companies worldwide, I've seen that you start in a business as usual, making donations, and then you take care of all your responsible business, your impacts, and then you take care of the supply chain. The company I work for, it took us 30 years from moving from here to here, 30 years. And we've been here in the last 15 years. Who has to be responsible? The government, the companies, the civil society, all of the above, or none one? Number 4. Good answer. But I have seen in many parts of the world that we always blame the other one. The companies blame the government blames the company, the civil society blames the companies blame the civil society, and what happens at the end? Nothing. So the answer is, regardless where we are, we have to be responsible of the role that we have to play on this. Where do you start? Do you start with yourself, then your family, the company, value chain, or you start thinking about the planet, then the country, the community? You start from here or you start outside? You start here. You cannot think about a social responsibility company if you don't have responsible people managing the company. In many parts of the world, they ask me, do you think that company is a social responsible one? And my answer is with another question. Please let me know about the leader, how he behaves, he or she, how he or she acts, and you will find the answer. Do you want to see a responsible government? You just see the leader. And you will find the answer very, very quick. So you start here, and then you move all the way. What is this? You are so quiet. It's a clock. Imagine this is the way we think. We were born in a country, we were raised, we have a family, we have a community, we went to study in a university, we have a work ABC, we work on the government, whatever. And this is the way we think. Please tell me, what is this? The same clock with all the machinery. So when you start thinking about sustainability, you move from here to here. And then you have to think what's going on in Mexico. We think about Central America. If you have this coffee producer from Honduras that he has no job, so he moves to big cities in Mexico City. He started working in the construction, but he has no money, so he became drug dealer. Do we have to take care of the small producer of coffee from Honduras? The answer is yes. What's going on here in Hong Kong if you have a girl from the Philippines and so on, and she's now in prostitution here in Hong Kong? So to move from here to here, you need courage. It's not nice to have. You have to understand that all the things that you do all the time are affecting others. And because I have 4 minutes, I will move as quickly as I can. The world is much bigger than we think it is. There are two kinds of business. The business as usual, that only takes care of money, and he doesn't take care of the people as long as nobody sees it. And the responsible business. Of course, the money is important, but it's important the planet and it's important the people. How many social responsibility companies are in Mexico? If you have this main leading certification and you have 5.5 million, the answer is this. And Hong Kong and the world, there is a long way to go. People thinking about sustainability, we are not a majority. We're just a minimum part of all the humanity. So it's a change of mindset. There's the company, a big one. We are one of the most awarded Mexican companies in the world. And we have a project that we include small products made from indigenous communities. We have this honey that is picked up by beekeepers in the south of Mexico. The cleaning process, the map. 2 years after we started the project with them, we were able to stop the migration to the States, and then we reversed the migration in 2009. This was the first one that we stopped. We made all the financing, and the capacity building was done by an international NGO, World Vision International. another product that's mole sauce, and then we have granola, and then we have strawberry jam from a group of women of central Mexico. They had no resources at all, and we helped them to build their own factory, and now they are exporting to the United States. And there's no poverty any longer in the community. That's what a responsible supply chain is about. We are not giving donations. We are helping them to be social entrepreneurships, a very successful one, and we get their products from their own land. I am not going to put a video, but because of time, on Christmas ornaments, we adopt a community, and these guys from an indigenous place in Mexico, they produce 25,000 Christmas ornaments. And with that project, 120 families eat for 1 year. So we're helping them to eat 1 year, 120 families. And it's 1 minute, okay. We have projects worldwide. Who wins on this kind of project? We win a lot of money, and we also help them to eradicate poverty, and we give the customers something that is natural with no preservatives or additives, a perfect product. The country wins and the world wins on this kind of initiative. There is no poverty where we are, and it's not only money. It's about dignity, respect, entrepreneurship. She's the quality control manager of our chocolate. Never attended school. We trained her for 2 years. And, well, she's smiling, but when the quality control is not on our standards, she has a completely different face. We were awarded for the first time in the United Nations 10 years ago, and then we became advisory of them in the supply chain, and then I took all these technical experts to one of our community. I will do it really quick. This is a statue that is in central Mexico, honoring child labor. For me, it's a shame. How does this happen? Anyway, we started a project in the border with Guatemala. They were affected, earthquakes. It's not enough on this. We have to move from this productivity to this one. And we started making a project from the nurseries to the mountain and then to the beans. And they have enough productivity so they can get enough money to have a decent life for all of them. There's a video, and I'm not going to put it. We have been awarded worldwide. We got the award for the best social entrepreneurship investment by UN Women, the group CEO. I take some of the producers to give a speech at the United Nations. Well, I go to Harvard all the time, and I teach them how to become sustainable. We even are on the Times Square billboards. We even have our own M&M. And we don't do this because of the M&M. We do this because we try to make the things different. This is the plane of one of the wealthiest men in all Latin America. I use his plane to eradicate poverty in Mexico. For me, this is commitment. It's not nice to have. He is making a change. And I am the player, he's the team owner, and we are doing the best that we can to make a world a better place. And, well, the CEO, I'm not going to stop on this, but delivering waters after an earthquake, one of the family members. And we have a very strong program for CSR. There are short-term, long-term, not business-related, and from the core business. Of course, we have philanthropy here, but our main programs are here for long-term and core business. We're on the SDGs, and we are having 16 of the 17 SDGs. And on the financial side, this is a comparison between our main competition. We are by far the most profitable one in the sector. So yes, you can be a very good business on the financial side and be a good citizenship, making a change for the good for the planet. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Berlanga. Up next, I would like to invite Mr. John Montague, Managing Director of the Big Issue Group, United Kingdom, to share with us the story of UK's first social merchant bank. Mr. Montague, please. Please give him a big round of applause again.
Use the laser pointer. This is the next line in the previous line.
Right, so that way up. Yeah. Good. Well, that had an effect. Everybody left. So it's not going to be that bad, honestly. So the Big Issue Group, anyone who's been to the UK may have seen the magazine on the street. Well, there's the Big Issue in Taiwan, there's the Big Issue in Korea, Big Issue in Australia. But where did the Big Issue originally came from? It came from business. It came from what I would say was one of the first businesses that really put people and planet at its heart. It was the Body Shop. It was Anita Roddick and Gordon Roddick who started the Body Shop on a very clear mission. Yes, to make a profitable company, but B, not to do harm while doing it, to ensure that their products didn't harm animals, they didn't harm planet, and they came from a very sustainable supply chain. That was 35 years ago. 27 years ago, they were the first corporate, they were a business that supported the creation of the Big Issue in the UK with two things, money and support and corporate knowledge and systems. So I think a lot of what we want to do is talk about how that partnership between social businesses, corporate businesses and governments, it's actually when you put them together that you create that real value. The Big Issue has a really simple bit. We have a vision. A society that's empowered, resourced and encouraged to take responsibility for positive change. So no different than the messages before we were hearing. And it's about dismantling poverty and creating opportunity for people. Not through a handout, but through a hand up. And it's about using business solutions. The reason we're very passionate about using business solutions, businesses tend to be sustainable. Projects, one-off donations tend to have a very big, finite position, beginning and end. If you want any more, come back and give me some more money. How do we create the sustainability around that impact that we want to create? There's a magazine. Some will have seen, from this to Bob the Cat in film and all sorts. But that magazine is the UK one. It started 28 years ago. It still supports 1,400 individuals at any time in the year who are selling it on the street. They're selling it on the street rather than begging on the street. They are entrepreneurs. They have decided to make the decision not to sit down with a polystyrene cup in front of them and beg, but to actually try and make that movement forward. We don't give them the magazine, they buy it off us. So they are little businesses. And in the week, before I left the UK, we placed a print order for this week's magazine, 325,000 copies. This week, we will put £1.5 million into poor people's pockets to allow them to feed themselves and get accommodation. It is business. They are selling, people are buying. And I think that's the great thing, is products can create value. In the UK, social enterprise, everyone looks at the UK, isn't it wonderful? Actually, it has been growing. Probably when we started the Big Issue 27 years ago, actually the term didn't exist. It was just a good business idea that could create impact. So I think it's really important that we don't actually put this label. It's about good business. Now, whether your legal structure means that you reinvest all your profit, whether your legal structure says we take the profit, but actually in creating that profit we do things with in a socially, environmentally responsible way, I don't think it matters. It matters that we run good businesses. I think when people talk about not-for-profit, we're for profit. We want to make as much money as we can in the right way. We then want to rob ourselves on the way to the bank and do some really great stuff with it. We don't have shareholders, we're not going to distribute that profit. But that's not a reason for not to run ourselves as a strong, sustainable business. If you don't make profit, in my opinion, you don't grow. You need to actually keep growing that business through profit. Certainly in the UK, it's a dynamic movement. It's a lot of young people are now working in it. Yeah. 49% of the businesses are still only 5 years old because more and more people are setting up businesses to this model. They're setting it up as being business plus, as I would call it. Is yes, we want to have a nice life, we want to do nice things, but actually we want to do it in a good way and make a difference to others. It's growing compared to the other SME sectors or the small and medium enterprise sectors in the UK. The social business sector is outperforming growth totally because actually as they start to deliver time, quality, cost products, people want to buy them. And we're starting to operate globally. And it's about business. So I think, the danger is we give it too much of a label. Gustav, they're running a business. Actually, they're running a business in a socially responsible manner. Does that make it a social business? So I think labels worry me. It's not about legal structure. It's about how you operate. We heard it before. It's about leadership. It's about keeping to mission and vision. One of the bits that we started 11 years ago was actually how do we become the enabler? One thing we're very clear at the big issue is we want to enable. We don't want to grow to a huge company because actually there is a danger as you grow too big, you lose some of your mission. We want to ensure we enable others to do it, whether we enabled big issue in Australia, big issue in Korea, big issue in Japan. Across the globe we have big issues. They're not ours because they need to be run locally, they need to meet the demographic and geographical need locally, but if we can enable that to happen, go for it. So one of the bits we looked at is how do we enable a different form of investment? The big issue started because of investment. It started not through a grant, but actually through someone looking at it through business lens. So we, over the last 10 years, have started to create the Social Merchant Bank, very grand title, but basically it's about it being a social investor. So we have a number of products that have developed over the years. Right at the far end, the retail markets and advisory business. One of the things when we started the other stuff is individuals or companies saying, well, how do you invest in you? Well, actually, it's quite difficult. So actually, how do we look at the existing investment funds that are out there? We've talked about ECGs. Actually, the majority of funds on the market for investors, whether you're a corporate investor, an individual investor, an ISA, they are negatively screened funds. They are people saying this fund will not, as distinct from saying this fund will. So it will not do tobacco, it will not do arms. Now I want funds that will do something. So our various retail funds, we have with Columbia Threadneedle, it's their fund, but we're the social advisor and the creator of it, is it will only invest in organisations that are creating positive additional impact in the health and well-being agenda, in the employment agenda, in the social care agenda. So it's very much positively screened. We've just launched another one with Aberdeen Standard, which is an equity fund, which again is us taking the top 250 equity-based shares in the UK and saying, if we looked at those and we wanted to make sure that my money, whether it's through my savings, etc., ends up in a respectable company that is socially responsible, what would the measures? So it's all about employment. It's about which of the companies that are employing people properly, they're paying the living wage, their supply chain is correct, and actually what's amazing, it's very different than the speaker before, when you look at the performance of those, they're top quartile performers because good companies tend to make more money. It just works that way. We then have some direct funds, so we run a number of our own limited partnerships, which are running at about 35, 40 million at the moment. So we are managing those funds on behalf of high net worths, of various sort of philanthropists and funds, but it is investment, it is not grant. We expect to get our money back, our funders expect to get our money back, and we expect to do a return. So it is all about giving people the opportunity to grow through investment. The challenge we have is, and why they tend to be lending and debt, is the majority of social enterprises within the UK, and the legal structure is, they are not equity bits. You couldn't take shares out in them, because actually that's the whole point, they're protected. So it tends to be a debt model, but we have, you know, investments ranging from £50,000 up to 5 million, 10-year positions. We have a loan fund. The crazy thing about our loan fund, which is running at, I think we're about £27 million out there, we take the money from the banks and lend it to the people who the banks won't lend it to. So none of it's our own money. We're acting as an intermediary. We're getting it in and we're doing a turn on it. But what is amazing is, certainly in the banking sector, in the investment sector, they don't understand social business. Because social business is not sort of measured on the standard EBITDA basis. It's measured on we're staying alive, we're making a small profit, and we're making impact. It isn't about having a huge balance sheet. It isn't about having asset-backed debt. So actually, the main market finds it really difficult to invest in, because actually you have to spend your time to get to know the business. You have to know the business. But we're impact first. And we then have a small program, because this is where we work very hard to bring the three organisations together: government, social sector and corporate sector. How do we change the philanthropy of corporates into investment in their head? How do we change their CSR of painting the village hall or mending some fences to actually using their brains, to actually use their networks, to use their supply chains, to actually drive the growth of business? It's obviously a day of Venn diagrams. We had one earlier. You could drive that on any, whether it's social business or business. What makes success? Access to funding. We're an investor. Access to business support. Corporates and large organisations have it in spades. Why do we need small growing businesses who've got social driven to go and worry about their human resources processes, their IT policies? Actually, they're all sat out there. It just needs someone to bring them to them and do it. And in that value chain, give those employees and those corporates real bang for their bucks, because actually it will change the way their employees look at society. It will give their employees to make a sustainable difference to society. And access to networks. All through business, it's who you know, not necessarily what you know. And what has been staggering to us, working with the Barclays, the Bank of Americas, there's always someone who knows someone. And you'll see on one of the examples in a minute that started off as, I won't do it, but it started off as a very small project. But it was the networks created through the corporate support that has grown it and grown it. And it's more coffee. So change, please. We started and invested. Again, it was initially a bit of our idea, but we're a publisher. We're not a coffee producer, we're not at that. So we started with Change Please. We invested in the first 5 little tuk-tuk vans. And it was about giving some of our vendors that next opportunity. So actually they've stabilised themselves, they're selling the big issue on the street, they've got some retail skills. How do we take them that next level? How do we create baristas with a massive market? So we invested in an organisation and a guy, and it's called Change Please, one coffee at a time. It's about, I will buy 1 big issue a week. I'll drink 5 cups of coffee a day. So actually, it's a business that will keep giving. It has grown from the first bit. So it started, we invested 3 years ago. It had corporate mentors and developers in Barclays and Experian, so two big organisations, who immediately started using their networks to get them places at Canary Wharf in London, etc., etc. We have a branded coffee in Sainsbury's and Asda, two of the biggest supermarkets in the UK. They now serve and deliver all the coffee on the whole Virgin train network, which launched 3 weeks ago. So it's all, and Virgin are really happy. You hear the announcement on the train. And in Coach C, we are very pleased to be serving Change Please coffee, making a difference to homelessness and poverty, one coffee at a time. So it's actually giving them a marketing tool and a product. Barclays have just put them in as their main cafe on the sixth floor, and slowly but surely. But it would only work if A, the coffee was any good and it was at the right price. I think the challenge we have, and it links to some of the stuff we said before, is how do we move forward social trading, because it's all in our power, how we buy things, what we look at what we buy. How do we move from where we were with fair trade? When fair trade first started, reality is it didn't taste very nice. It was very expensive. And it was only the few crazies who really engaged in it. Now we would not consider not doing it. How do we put the same mark on how we as individuals, as we as companies trade? Actually, we want to know the impact that trade has. Has that had a negative impact on society? Has that gone and put another 10 tons of dye into the rivers in India or China that's going to kill people? We as consumers have the power to start asking those questions. Another total different investment, we put £1 million into this. So the Highlands, for anyone knows, right up at the top of Scotland, takes hours to get there. Very low dense population, very spread out. Aging population, no corporate, no large organisation was interested in giving support to the people getting old, the people with disabilities in that area, because it was just too darn difficult. So Howland Home Cares, we funded to support them to become a cooperative. So it's actually the community who's been trained to become carers, to give that support, and it's now the community to the community. It is now the third largest care organisation in Scotland delivering home care. It's driven from a need, driven with a business. You know, they're now, when we started 5 years ago, they were a little community interest. They're now a £7 million business. They are growing, they're a model. But at their heart, they have a mission to deliver incredibly good quality care to individuals who need it. So we go from coffee to home care, we go all over the place. But actually, the important thing is, it's a business. There's a gap in the market. There's a margin in the gap. And there's a way you can deliver it in a very socially inclusive manner. And I'm going to avoid even getting the minute thing up there, because I reckon I've got 2 minutes and 14 seconds to go. So I'm going to be on time. So that's it really, I think we have the power to change society on how we buy. Come back to the beginning. We have the power to actually, in running our businesses, in running our investments, to change society. But it's us who needs to make that effort. And it's how we as partners, whether it be the government, the corporate market, the individual, the NGOs, actually come together to deliver sustainable solutions. Thank you all.
Thank you, Mr. Montague. Now, moving on. So I'd like to invite Ms. Nurfarini Deng. She is the co-founder and CEO of My Harapan and the Youth Trust Foundation in Malaysia. She will share with us the value of social innovation and entrepreneurship. So, Ms. Deng, please give her a big round of applause.
Hi, so I'm guessing only the young people are left here. Everyone below 35, whoop, whoop, yeah. Okay, so this is really about our story at My Harapan. And My Harapan actually means hope. And My is mine, and My is in Malaysia. So
we believe that the hope of Malaysia and around the world is really about young people. And we look at ourselves as Jedis. I don't know, do young people know Star Wars these days? All young people here, right? Do you know Star Wars? No? All Star Trekkies? No? Okay. We believe that, I think, seeing how Malaysia now is soon going to turn 30 years as far as the average population is. It is young, but it's growing, it's aging. And we recently went through midlife crisis by changing the government. It's a new government, and we're seeing, and it was decided, we feel, by the young voters. So they have a lot to say, and they're more increasingly looking for more meaningful ways of doing things beyond just voting. So over the years, we've seen how the organization was actually established by the young people. I am one of the co-founders, but the decision to establish this was a result of many, many dialogue sessions, many sit-downs with over 100 young leaders who told us that they needed to be given the support in order to do social initiatives. They needed to be given the authority to decide for themselves the sort of causes that they were passionate about. They needed to be supported, but to be left on their own. So we were created as a result of this. We would give them the money, sometimes, because most of the time it's really about how we mentor, how we train, and after that we give them a little bit to just try and fail sometimes, because being resilient and taking the courage was more important. So we're accelerating the growth of youth-driven social businesses, because we believe young people, when given the chance and the opportunity, will be able to fulfill their true potential by aligning what's in their heads, because they're far smarter than I was when I was their age, and what is in their hearts, which I feel is that missing piece as well. So social innovation. I mean, why do we take on social innovation as a means to develop young people? We see that not only does it benefit communities as a result of the solution or how it's been implemented, and how they, at the end of the day, are able to interact with communities and create the sort of relationship that is needed to really look into developing systemic change. But it also enhances the ability and themselves as individuals. We see how we've grown with many, many of them over the 8 years. Some of them I've seen from student to being married, to sometimes being divorced, and with many, many kids. So the idea is with forming these relationships, it's not just pure business, but we're really in it. I am otherwise called as mother hen, because all I do is nag, apparently. So this is what we've learned over the years. We started off with university students mostly. And we found out that, yes, there were many, many who wanted to start on their social initiative projects. But we found out over the few years after that we had to go younger. Because unfortunately, university students, you can argue with me afterwards, that you have already put yourselves in small little boxes and defined your KPIs according to how success is being defined at that time. So we felt that going younger was the way to go, because they were more they were more willing to look into areas which otherwise would have not been thought of. They were willing to listen to the advice of some mentors and be able to be critical about things and try for themselves, because they were given the platform to do good. So I feel also that social entrepreneurship helps people to also find out more about themselves. And we've seen how when you go out and about and engage with communities you would have otherwise not known, with the poor, with the marginalized, with their peers who may not be living in the same community, being able to understand that human beings are super diverse, and that's the beauty of who we are as human beings. And we provide them this platform. They're able to be more self-aware about their ability to respond and to act accordingly. So in Malaysia, still, we consider 40-year-old as youth. I'm guessing that's everyone here as well. Except for one or two in the front row. And what we do is we want to be able to see how once you start, we call the 3 C's. We want you to be able to develop the competency, the courage, and also the crazy. Because you need to disrupt what the systems are today. You need to be able to go out there. So we provide these safe zones, and what's more is we provide money. It's very small. We've given 12-year-olds 500 ringgit, which is how much? Maybe 100 USD. And they have gone to to win awards, and have also opened up their own social enterprises, which is making more money than some businesses that we've know of. And these 12 years old, a lot of the times people don't look at them very seriously. And yes, I have less time than John. That's totally unfair. No, I'm kidding. Yes, but I think at the end of the day, we also want to be able to provide a platform for more serious young people to start their own businesses, irrespective of age. As long as you're committed, we'll be there for you. So some of the examples that we've seen is an example of because the industry is very new in Malaysia. So a lot of social enterprises are actually set up by NGOs, or previously known as NGOs, with a very typical volunteer and donation mindset. And one of them being Hospital Beyond Boundaries. It was actually started off by a bunch of students, medical students. And usually medical students, as far as being business savvy is concerned, it's not there yet, because they're doing it for their heart. They're doing it to serve others and others only, and it's almost considered blasphemous to be charging people. So we wanted to be able to change that, and that change is still ongoing over the past 8 years. They've had many successes, but have gone through many downfalls as well, but it's a journey that we take because we know that if they were to hit that right spot, they'll do it very successfully. So they have a hospital in Cambodia, and they have mobile centers as well in Kuala Lumpur. So from a student body, student association, they're now a full-fledged social enterprise in Cambodia, and part volunteer body in Malaysia, providing volunteering services for medical students and accounting students who want to be able to understand what it means. Another one that we do, and we have venture built this ourselves in our company, because we believe that we need to be able to walk the talk. So Muay Thai, by the way, I do Muay Thai, so you know, no one can mess with me, is the first sports social business in Malaysia. And with more the Olympics and the Paralympics in the future being more socially conscious through the social procurement and other things, we believe that it provides an alternative career for would-be gangsters. So we have now trained, it's small, but we feel that 28 of youth at risk are now trained as either trainers. They are now fighting competitions at Muay Thai events on an international level, and they will be absorbed as trainers in the facilities, in the gyms throughout Malaysia, in Langkawi, hopefully one in JB and another one in Kuala Lumpur. So if you're looking for personal services with regards to Muay Thai, super trendy right now, please subscribe to us. So the opportunities are many, okay? You are looking at leadership opportunities that would have not otherwise be given to women, We're seeing a lot more women. 2/3 of social enterprises, social businesses in Malaysia are driven by women, are driven by the handicapped, different able bodies. They're driven by people who otherwise would have not been given the chance. And this is also recognized by MAGIC, which is the main body helping facilitate this industry. The thing is, we are utilizing what's available in the startup ecosystem. There's no definition for social enterprises. You can come in as a business, you can come in as a private limited, you can come in as any creature for that matter. It's really up to you, so long as you subscribe to the principles that you have to be able to reinvest in your organization for social mission. You have to be able to pay your workers properly. So there are many, many criteria. But the idea is social entrepreneurship is that small little corner. And some of them have actually, the intermediaries is less and less now. We are lonely, but in the scheme of things, we have to be able to fight our fight as well in a larger ecosystem, which we feel is okay. And all the top dot there are all the agencies that are actually supplying services. So the idea is, at the end of the day, the ecosystem needs to be driven by the young. It has to be driven by citizens. In order for the business community to be able to listen to what is required, I personally feel that at the end of the day, it's really about how can citizens make the sort of decisions as far as buying and consuming, and as well as coming up with their own businesses is concerned. And we also need to have institutions of higher learnings. If you look in the startup ecosystem, no one university is actually listed. They are not playing a role. Should they? I think they should, because they have the largest amount of youth in any organization. So what we're doing now is we're trying to get more social entrepreneurs at grassroots level. We want to see more B40 or the bottom of the bottom 40 to be able to realize that social entrepreneur is not something that is only left for someone with more that is more privileged. We want to be able to see, irrespective of your age, that existing business models can be repackaged and replicated so that they can actually be adopted by anybody. So we're actually providing support in terms of financing. It's in grant and debt form. But I think a lot of the times in Malaysia, people think that the only businesses to do good are the ones who've already done or who have already received quite a lot of money, who are making a lot of profit. That's the only time when when you only contribute back. So we're saying no, that doesn't have to be the case. Social impact can be driven by people at the bottom. And it's up to them. These guys were skinny, gangster-like. They had guns in their pockets when they came into the program. These guys, I think the transformation over a 2-month period is extraordinary. They've changed from quiet, disillusioned to super confident, and they want to be able to showcase their talents because they believe that everybody is talented and is a contributing citizen. So we owe it to the guys like this. We owe it to people who would have otherwise lost hope. And there is a lot to be done, but I trust that if we invest in young people, all farts will be a thing of the past. So I think young people, I hope you'll be investing your time as well, because it is worth it. It's worth to be able to think like a social entrepreneur, even if you feel that you'd rather work in a bank, because we need bankers who also think like a social entrepreneur. So that will be all. I can be contacted here. I'm otherwise known as Yoda Nini. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Dang. Next, I'd like to invite Mr. Romy Kayadi, the co-founder and CEO of Interstellar and Unlimited Indonesia, with his insights and overview of Southeast Asia social enterprise landscape. Mr. Kayadi, you have our attention, please.
This is next slide and previous slide.
Okay.
Pointers.
Pointers. Okay, hi everyone. It's really a privilege to be standing here, and I think the previous sharing from the presenters were amazing. I think we have listened to very inspiring and concrete examples. What I would like to share with you here is about what's happening in Indonesia, in my country, in terms of the development of social enterprises there. And because we have limited time, I decided to use this one slide to illustrate what's happening in our country. This is a quick snapshot of research done by Angin. It's an angel investor network in Indonesia. It's just released a few months ago. And what they did was basically try to map out all players, different organizations, also some individuals there who are playing some roles in terms of developing the ecosystem of social entrepreneurship in the country. And if you ask me 5 years ago, what happened in Indonesia, whether social entrepreneurship was growing or not, I wouldn't be very sure. But as you can see here, we have at least 10 different players from different institutions and organizations who are playing different roles in developing the ecosystem as of now, as if in Indonesia. I can mention a few examples here. I would say that in Indonesia, Ashoka, I don't know whether Ashoka is present here in Hong Kong, but Ashoka is one of the first organizations in Indonesia who are supporting social entrepreneurs. I think in Indonesia there are a couple of hundreds fellows, Ashoka fellows, and they are still operating up until now. There are a few other organizations now, including us, who are supporting social enterprises or early stage social enterprises in the country. Another good development in the past few years actually comes from the private sectors. There are a few corporates here, BCG, Boston Consulting Group, DBS Bank, Development Bank of Singapore, EY, also a consulting company, and Telkomsel is a telecommunication company, the biggest in Indonesia. All of these companies in the past few years have been running different programs in promoting social enterprises and awarding recognition to good social entrepreneurs in the country. And this has shaped good vibes. A lot of people became more aware of this development, and because of that, we have now more and more social enterprises in the country. You can also see here we have even universities. These are both private and public universities which have programs, both academic or non-academic programs in supporting social entrepreneurship, which means that the universities see that there is market potential. New students are looking for this kind of study in universities. I can also mention other things like there are impact investors operating in the country. UNDP released research some time ago saying that there are few millions dollars have been invested in the past few years. I would say that at the moment our homework would be with the government. There are few government agencies that we have been engaging with, and now they have become more aware of this. And on Monday, actually, next week, there is a policy dialogue organized by the government to get inputs, how they can help support the development of social entrepreneurship in the country. There are few challenges and trends which I can share with you very quickly here. How this sector would move forward in Indonesia. These are few challenges, specifically in terms of making investment in social business or social enterprises in Indonesia. But I would like to share more on this slide, which is more encouraging and very positive. More and more social enterprises in the country, in Indonesia, are using digital technology to grow their impact and business. As you probably know, Indonesia is quite a big country in terms of population and geographical reach, and we do have challenges in terms of reaching out to those who are farther than the center of economic growth. So we are seeing more and more tech startups using their technology and their ability to create impact and create social good, and vice versa. We see more and more social businesses using digital tech to reach out to different communities. More and more companies are coming from outside the center of economic growth. So a few things about our own company, Instellar. I will go very quickly so that we have more time for discussion and Q&A after this. So in the past 4 years, we have been supporting over 100 social enterprises. These are the logos of their company. From various sectors, agriculture, craft, healthcare, education, financial technology. And they are in different range of maturity in terms of their business. Some of them already receive investment. They are growing. Some of them are still building their businesses. But majority of them are growing from a very small business to much more significant size. This is the map of Indonesia. The program that we are running, all of them are being run from Jakarta. But as you can see here, many of the communities which work with the social enterprises actually are quite spread out. So this is a very good sign actually that there are activities out there being done by different people spread across the country, and there are needs to get this kind of support. And they are willing to come to Jakarta bearing their own costs for accommodation and transport to get this support. This is our main program. It's called Rising, Rich in Impactful Social Enterprise Incubation, which lasts for 6 months. And the previous slides, the 100 companies or social enterprises we have supported were graduating from this program. I have only 1 minute left, so I will hurry. This is an acceleration program, so more mature program than previous one. These are specifically for those who are looking for investment. So shorter program, very investment oriented. We are working with investment company from Korea who would provide the equity investment right at the end of the program. We also have events, and like the previous speakers, we also believe that we need to collaborate and work with different stakeholders. The way we are doing that is through events. So this is one of the events that we are doing, inviting different companies, investors, media, public in general, just like the event that we are having today. Arise, this event has been organized twice. This year is the second time. We had, I think, 250 people in one event. This is another event we just organized actually last month in Bali. It's called Asia Social Innovation Conference. Again, we don't necessarily use the term social enterprise. I think, like the previous speakers, I also believe that the essence of what we are doing is more important. And if we can deliver the message that we can do business to create good, to create care for the environment, I think that's more powerful than we are labeling people, labeling our own work with different definitions. That's it. So looking forward to have some quality discussion with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kayari. Last but not least, we'll move on to our discussion session. But as we would need some time to do the setup, so why don't we buy some time to post your question in our Slido, and our panel members will answer your question during the discussion or when they are finished with the discussion towards the end. So please make good use of this time. And later, to host the session, we will have Dr. Alex K.K. Lam, the chairman of ESG and the Impact Investing Research Committee of Greater China Alternative Managers Association, to moderate the session. So please go to your Slido and have your question ready. And later, we will have all the 4 guests joining us, and they will be Mr. Gustavo Berlanga, Mr. John Montague, Ms. Nurfarini Dang, and Mr. Romy Keadi. So without further ado, can we give a big round of applause to Dr. Alex K.K. Lam to take over the stage from me. And then can we also have our 4 speakers on the stage as well. Please give everyone a big round of applause for the panel discussion. And Dr. Lam, the stage is all yours now. Our other guests will join us very quickly.
So let me quickly welcome and appreciate all those who are still here. And I would suggest we should relax and don't be stressed by our time limit. As we have heard of a number of ideas, sounds like a big treasure. So out of our group of distinguished speakers earlier, why don't we start with a big applause for all those who have shared with us with a lot of idea and even testimony about the future of our planet. Now, I came from the background. First career was asset management, more money-minded. And the second career for about 8 years in social enterprise development, in particular to the people with disability. Now, last year I was also invited to support a UN SDG Impact Finance Initiative. So I'm also hoping to integrate my expertise out of investment and then social mission. But I must say I also experienced, as some of you experienced earlier, in particular to the impact out of the mainstream corporate leaders, mainstream investors, and also mainstream government officials. So therefore, I just would like to set the stage boldly out of the possibility that we also need to have a reflection of the purpose of life. because as Gustavo mentioned, that it takes maybe 30 years for the first stage to change the corporate culture, and another 15 years to set the footstep. And the purpose of life, the purpose of company, the purpose of government, and also the purpose of perhaps money or capital. So I think our panel speaker has already shared with us quite a lot of inspiring idea, and also the idea testimony about how we should go further. So I just would like to ask all of you about your reaction towards the mainstream investors, corporate, and also the educators, or even the ecosystem building in your country. How you can also make up a dialogue in order to inspire them to further and improve their step, you know, in order to allocate resources or education for social good in corporate, government, youth curriculum, or even some ecosystem in the venture capital market. So it seems that John is very energetic to pick up the phone. So
I think their future employees are driving it with them. Certainly in the UK, you know, people going into, even if they are going into banking, you know, are they worse than estate agents? It's a question. But actually, those employees want to deliver more. The youth and the younger people of today do not want to go through the banking crisis we had. They do not want to be seen as individuals who are, you know, just leeching off society, and they want more out of their job. So I think the challenge for corporates and for banks, and we do a lot of work with banks, and it's not about CSR, to be honest. It's about HR. It's about how we provide opportunities for their employees to use their skills to make a positive difference to society.
Can I build on that? So there is a recent marketing research actually in Indonesia being done by the largest oil and mining company in the country. And this is a marketing research, so they wanted to know actually the consumer's perspective. And what they found is that the millennials actually, so they have few characteristics in terms of marketing, but one of those is that they are looking for products and services which have good social and environmental values. So if we give them a choice, there are two products with good, same quality, same price, one of them has better social or environmental value, then they will prefer that. That's the first one. The second characteristic is what just mentioned by John. They prefer working in companies which give them personal meaning. And this is something quite different from the previous generation in the job market. Meaning here means that they are working not only for money, basically, not only for make living, but also to get satisfaction that they are doing something useful for the society. So for us in Indonesia, this is a quite insightful finding actually, because this is coming from marketing research. The millennials will be the consumer, is the consumer now, and they are part of the job market, of the workforce. So whether companies like it or not, they will need to consider this as a matter of fact, how they would define their business strategy, how they define their approach in terms of HR, in terms of marketing, because the reality demands for it. In terms, so that's one. The second point, of course, we need to be still tactful. The millennials, the younger generation, are more open to these ideas that we talked about. However, there are more senior generations which needs, I think, different approach. So sometimes we need to find a common ground where we can find, for example, after CSR we have CSV, creating shared values. So we do need stepping stones, I think.
Okay, Gustavo?
building on Romi's. Two ideas. One is the market. Why do we have drugs in the world? Because there is a market. Why do we have illegal products? Because there's a market. As long as there is a market, someone is going to fill that market. And about a year and a half ago in Mexico City, it was a trending topic, one picture of a turtle with a straw in his nose. And he was, the turtle was bleeding. And it became viral. And suddenly, the Mexico City consumers stopped using this plastic straw. In just 2 weeks, 3 weeks, all the restaurants stopped using straws. And the plastic industry got crazy.
Yeah.
And then, about 3 months ago, is the same movement, but with plastic bags. And the market and the producer is reacting. So as long as we have responsible consumers, that's when the change is going to be for the brands. We as a restaurant business, we started eliminating the plastics, the single-use plastics, 3 years ago. And everybody laughed at us that, of course, that's not going to happen because nobody takes care. But when this change on the consumer started, we just are very prepared to the change. That's one idea. And the second, again, building with Romy, is you have the money salary, but also you have the emotional salary. And it's as important as the money. Of course, you want to have a decent income. But what I have found, because I have about 3 or 4 millennials in my team, they are looking for a meaning job. And one size does not fit all. I have this guy who was focused on anti-corruption, all the ethical, and he told me, I want to work with animals. I am happy with animals, animal welfare, pet friendly, and all kind of stuff. So, yes, I love anti-corruption, but I prefer to work with animals. So I shift him, and he's more than happy with that. So this emotional salary is very, very important to play with. I am saying play in a very positive way, so the people can fit whatever makes sense on the next 5, 10, 15 years job.
Right. Apart from career aspiration and also this emotional salary, individual talent development, youth, it seems that you have already good experience in your countries. What is your reaction about this kind of interaction with the mainstream ideas of the development of youth?
To be honest, in waiting for policy changes, it's a very long time, right? So when you talk about government or corporate bodies, especially large ones, it takes ages for anything to happen. So we as a relatively young organization have felt that I think we need to revisit. I think the idea is how can we showcase good social enterprises or good social initiatives that are driven by young people. And we've been able to do that over the years to show that we have given them very minimal amounts of money. But what we have also on top of that complemented it is by giving them the experience to try things for themselves and look at leadership in a different manner. Because we're looking at them not as leaders of tomorrow, they're actually doing a lot of stuff today. And we should be able to recognize that and acknowledge that there's a lot that they can do, and we're not taking advantage of that. So I think in giving them the support, in ensuring that they are allowed, I think in Asian, at least in Malaysian culture, it's a very spoon-fed type environment where you go to school, you have to get your A's, you have to go to university, and you have to graduate, top whatever. And I think things need to change. Students need to be more resilient and think for themselves and not get someone else to define where they should lead. Because I think they can already with with the internet. Knowledge is so readily available within their fingertips. So I think we need to leverage off that. The energy, they're very energetic. Although I must say that I'm not a millennial, but I feel that I am as energetic than as they are, because everyone's so quiet now. So we look at how to showcase value and the fact that if a young person at the age of 12 can make decisions and with regards to being more sustainable by recycling, you can affect the change of the much older people. The parents, at least, will be affected. Yeah.
Thank you. I think a good example is very important, as Gustavo mentioned earlier. It is not only the government or corporate and any sector's responsibility for social a responsible society. We all need to play a part. Now, I cannot occupy, the microphone to ask my questions, and I think we need to guide you guys to look at what the floor have already sent their questions. Can you also speakers elaborate the steps and procedures while starting up social enterprise? Can your speakers elaborate how they initially raise the financing? I think this can also combine a little bit together. And how to avoid making labels of vulnerable people while promoting business and social enterprise. So the focus beyond the government is many years of social enterprise is not impacting on a big enough scale. So we can condense it a little bit of your kind of thinking about the procedures, how you advise if our colleagues here or some students, alumni here, so they would also like to start up a social enterprise. So who? Okay, now you see we have also energetic panelists.
To me, I think it's about starting enterprise, it's about starting business. To me, the difference between people may define social enterprise, it may be the legal structure, what happens with profit, but actually what we're doing is trying to find a gap in the market, a margin in the gap, deliver that product on time, quality and cost, which is how we all buy things. But actually what we want to do is take that triangle and pull it a bit and say we're going to add some more to that triangle, and squeeze some more in the middle of it, which is actually social impact. So to me, it is, I think people get hung up. It's a business. We invest in 300 businesses. They're social businesses. Investors are there, but they're in there if you can actually show that it is a sustainable business. Just because it has a different legal structure doesn't mean it's not investable in. It's about the sustainability of the business and the impact. And I think just one quick one, actually, and we had that challenge where I ran a very big construction business. And we engaged ex-offenders, kids off estates, gang members. Actually, if I told my clients that was the nature of the people working on their sites and building their buildings, you're right, they'd have probably gone like that. We sold ourselves as a quality business. How we chose to deliver it, that's our choice. Actually, what happened is once they knew who had delivered it, they were really proud. But we ran a big restaurant in a hotel that we had, and actually we had ex-offenders in there cooking, etc. It was only after people had the meal that we introduced the chefs, because I think otherwise they'd have been looking in their food saying, where's the broken glass? Actually, because people have preconceptions. We've got to demonstrate people's abilities, not their disabilities.
So, Romy? I would say that there are two things that need to come together. The business side and the impact side, or the social impact side. Depends on where we are coming from. We can either start from the business side. Sometimes the business idea pops up first. Sometimes it's our concern, it's our hearts saying, look, there is this issue with plastic. or issue with unemployment, or issue with migrant workers, whatever. So the issue sometimes come first, and we need also to think about, okay, what is the solution for this particular problem or issue? Then, of course, we need to find the business model, how we are going to address this issue using the solutions that we have, using a very sustainable business model. And then, because this is, at the moment, is at our idea, it's the, we call it ideation level, then of course we need to try at small scale first. Have a pilot of this idea, try it out, see whether it works or not. We may find ourselves correcting this idea a few times, a few iterations. And then when we find, okay, this is working, then we can grow the business. Funding, in most cases, we start with our inner circle, our own money, our friends' money who trust us, family members, relatives who trust us. And then once we can demonstrate some success with the business, then only we can go to a wider circle, people who are willing to lend us money, for example, or even institution when the business is bigger. One comment on it's gone. Okay. One comment on how we should how can we avoid. I think the point was that, for example, if we're working with people with disability, we don't want to sell the disability, right? So so basically, we just perform as a business. That's it. So there is a good example of this in Vietnam. Actually, they are a design company. So they make design, and their clients are in United States, Europe, but their employees, 90% of their employees are people with disabilities. But they never mentioned that we are companies with 90% people with disability, we provide design. For their clients, they don't really care, basically. And I think this is a good, not only because the client may not understand, but I think it's a good, it's respecting the people working in the company themselves. They work there not because they are disabled, but because they are able to design.
Right.
So I think this kind of awareness should be within us. So even though we do know that they do have their limitation, we just recognize what they can do, basically. And that's why we are doing business with them.
Okay, thank you. Maybe Gustavo, you are a tough potato. So I would rephrase the questions that how can you convince your business counterpart in terms of this kind of supply chain benefit, as they may not be able to appreciate what you have done, and how can you really start up your kind of mission to convert them to join your path of doing well and doing good?
First, you have to convince yourself.
Okay.
And on my case, I had this tipping point. I used to be a business as usual person, working on finances, then purchasing, then marketing, then logistics. And I don't want to tell because the story is a long one, but when I understood that we as business people can help to build a better society, if you are convinced, then you will find the interest of the owner, and you can start in a very small step, taking him to your own view. For example, if he likes animals and he likes cats, he will support Jaguar Rescue. But if he doesn't like animals, there's no way you can approach on that side.
Sure.
If he has a cousin with Down syndrome, he's more close to that disability than other people. So you approach according to his or her own reality. And that's the way that you will start making this approach. And I'm going to finish that due to the time. Because,
for the sake of time, I think I owe you a glass of beer, and we should continue later on. But I think that this is about time that Lydia, you can advise the university graduate or student to start up the key step to start their social enterprise.
What they said. But I think it's just about just doing it and not doing it thinking that your idea is the best idea, but at the end of the day that there's buy-in and that you have actually engaged with the very people that you want to change lives of. So if you have included them, and they should actually be in fact very prominent in your business, you're always thinking about them and the environment, then is law of attraction. You will be able to attract people who have that same passion, who are driven by your same cause. So just do it. There will be people who will give you some money, not everything. I think as long as young people are very realistic that yes, being a CEO is nice and fancy, but it as usual with everything else, it takes a lot of hard work, even more so for a social enterprise. Yeah.
Now, my apology on behalf of the organizer, because of the limit of time. I think you guys deserve to share even days and nights with us about your experience. And also, my apology to all the floor, because of the limit of time, we cannot even answer all the questions. But I think the organizer will also mark it down, and then we will try our best to accommodate and remedy, in the near future. So with that, I think we have already really get access to a lot of inspiration and also treasure in life. We don't want to dictate any roadmap for anybody to go which way that they can really unleash their talents. But as we heard that we can always do our very best to make our society a better one. With that, let me ask all of you to give a big applause to our panelists and also yourself for your contribution. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Lam, and our guest speakers. So please remain on the stage. And to express our appreciation, we would like to invite Ms. Bonnie Leo, the Executive Director of Social Enterprise Research Academy, to present thank you certificate. Ms. Leo, please. So the first one we would like to give is to Mr. John Montague. Mr. Montague, please come to the center of the stage. Thank you, Mr. Montague. And then we'll take a group photo in a minute. Yes. And then the next one is Ms. Nurfarini Dang. Ms. Dang, please.
Hello, Lini. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. It was so fun.
And then we have Mr. Romy Kayadi. Mr. Kayadi, please.
I keep switching sides. I don't know why. Thank you so much.
And then last but not least, our moderator, Mr. Ilex KK Lam. Mr. Lam, please.
These are always coming.
Yeah, that's right. Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
And then can we have everyone, including Mr. Gustavo, into the center of the stage and take a group photo? We can go ahead of the tables, in front of the tables. You can hold your certificate as well, yes. Thank you. So may I invite the guests to please be seated. And this will also mark the end of today's event. So we would once again like to thank our speakers for sharing their insights with us. And thank you for making their time to join us as well. And thank you everyone to stay till the end as well. So it's been a pleasure for me to host the summit and learn as well. So I wish you all a lovely evening and a nice weekend ahead. So goodbye and see you at our next event. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.